Okay, hi Seth. I'm just going to give you a quick instruction here on how to import your data file into Python. So look, you've got your data file and it looks like this. By the way, you better make sure it looks like this and not like this with the red dot. That could cause you problems. Actually, I think you could just delete that and it's probably fine now. So if you do see a red dot, delete it and then save it. Now, actually this is going to be hard to import because you've got a column here of strings and NumPy doesn't like strings, it likes numbers, so it's going to cause problems when we try to do that. Now the easiest way to deal with that is just to edit the file, for example in Excel, and get rid of everything except for the numbers that you want. This is not good practice, but this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken the original file and I've deleted the first two rows and I've deleted the first column. Okay, so that all we have is other numbers, right? You can see that that's what we have. So I'm going to first of all show you how to import this into NumPy, and this is very easy. Then I'll try and import this one and I'll show you the problems, and then I'll show you a solution for doing that, which is a little bit more complicated. Okay? So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure we're in the right folder. We've got our files here. So let's create a new Python script. And let's of course import NumPy as np. And again, I think I can just do ls, exclamation mark, ls, list the files in my folder. So I want to first of all just import clean.csv. So let's try doing that. Data equals np.load txt and then clean.csv like that. Run it. Alright, could not convert string to float. It doesn't like this. The problem is we need to tell it that these are numbers, but they're separate. There's many numbers and they're separated by commas. So we do that by telling it that the delimiter is a comma. So we put a comma in quotation marks like that. Let's try it again. Still not happy. What is the problem? That's weird. Is it because... Okay, you know what? I'm just going to make life really, really, really easy, and because I think the problem is that you've got some gaps here, and I just wanted to make a demonstration that makes it easy. So I'm just going to make this, save the file as this very small file. Let's try again, see if it works. It didn't give us an error, so let's just see what data looks like. So it seems to have worked. I've got this variable called data now, which is going to have data.shape. Oops, sorry, shape. It's a 5 by 5, and if I look at data 0, colon, that means the first row and all of the columns. There you go, 0.87 and so on. 0.087, yeah, so that's that row. So when you have a file that has data in this very, very simple format, load txt, it's great and it works. Okay? There you go, that's the first data point. Now, the problem is, in normal everyday life, and in fact in your problem here, the data doesn't look like that. It has a number of challenges. So, what do we see that's different? First of all, we see two header lines. Secondly, we see this column of strings. And finally, we have these gaps in the data, like here and here. So that's going to make it a bit harder to deal with. Well, let me try now to write some code to load that proper file. So this time I'm going to work on this file here. Okay, I could just first of all perhaps demonstrate to you that load.txt won't actually work. Although we've already seen that. It gives us all kinds of errors. Whenever you get a big error like this, go straight to the end and read the last part. Could not convert string to float. All right, well actually it's having a problem with the header line, so what I could actually do is I could tell it to skip the first 2 rows, in other words, to ignore those rows and read everything else. If I try and do that, it's still not happy, and that's because it's got this float. So, I'm not going to use load.txt, even though you could, if you worked at it hard enough, you'd figure out how to do it. I'm going to do something a bit more basic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a script that's going to load every line in the file, 1 line at a time. And it's going to load that line as what's called a string. And then it's going to chop up the string using commas to chop it up. And I'll then know that the second item is going to be my magnesium value, and so on. So the command is open. So we simply say f equals open data file CSV, and then we tell it R, which means that we're going to read the file. That means we're reading it, not writing it. Okay. So then for line in F, print line. Okay, so these 3 lines, open the file and then read through it line by line in a loop. This is a loop, and inside the loop, this indented text here is operating on each line in the text. So the first thing you see is it's reading the lines, that's fine, but it's putting a space in between them. And that's because there's a, well, okay. Yeah, so okay, so I want to manipulate this string. So line is a string. Maybe I put a comment that says that line is a string containing everything on